What's up, everybody? I'm here with one of my great friends, Mitch Craighead, owner of a franchise, Joe Homebuyer. Mitch, tell us about yourself.
Rich, it's my honor to be here. Thank you for having me on. I've started in real estate investing about 3 years ago. I started my business. I come from real estate background, mostly real estate management. So a lot of multifamily management over the past 15 years leading up to this. Began a small company as a solopreneur about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Buying and selling properties, buying, rehabbing and selling properties, a couple of different variations of real estate investing. And since then, I've grown a portfolio. I've rehabbed about 30 homes, and I've supplied a lot of other investors with their properties to execute on their exit strategies. So, again, it's my honor to be here. Super excited to add value to the channel. And I'm open to talk about whatever you'd like to today.
Yeah, awesome, brother. Awesome. So I do know, your oldest Robbie, know your wife and everything. Let's talk about your family a little bit and how you show up for them and making sure they have the life that they deserve and you continue to be a great father and husband in your family.
It's been a journey.
Yeah.
And it always will be, right? Always at different stages in your parenting and your professional life. And starting a business 3 years ago, when my son, who's 16 now, he was 13, and I have two other little ones as well. It was a great leap of faith. So not without challenges every step of the way and into today. So, but showing up for them is a huge part of what I wake up and want to be the best at every single day, just like in my business life. We've had health challenges with my family. Luckily my parents are still here. They're able to help us with certain things. But every day is a grind. Every day is a grind, both in doing the right thing for your family and growing a business. So, I'm just blessed to be able to have the strength to be able to provide for my family and continuously work hard to better myself and be a good example for my young ones.
In what ways do you make sure to be that positive role model and good example for them? I know in our industry, we're dealing with constant ranges of emotions between buyers and sellers and agents and title and all that stuff. And what do you do to make sure that you don't necessarily walk into the door at home so you can be, a great father and a great husband in these scenarios?
Yeah. One thing I tell myself before walking in the door, I try to unplug as much as I possibly can. And my family knows that, but they also have seen me leave one of my kids' birthday parties to take a really important work call. Okay. When growing a business, there's certain things that you have to do to keep things moving. Mm-hmm. so that you can be that future provider for them. One thing that I do when I'm parking my car before I go in my house is I tell myself, when Dad's home, he sets the tone. Okay, and it's just a great piece of rehearsal that I do to make sure that I'm not carrying the baggage and the stress from work into my home life, because I can walk in with and marching in and run onto my computer and finish up an offer or a phone call and march right past my family if I choose to. I can also take the time that's necessary to greet my family in an energetic way and, be just that, set the tone for what I want the rest of the evening to look like, and do the very best I can to bring everyone together, as opposed to bring in conflict or bring my stresses to the table.
I noticed that in our relationship over a year now, getting to know each other in golf and, getting to meet Robbie and getting to meet the wife and, the gala and everything, and just seeing how you operate. I'd imagine that you do that at work too. When you walk in, right? You're the owner of the franchise.
Absolutely.
When you walk in, you set the tone. I know you hold high level accountability at work, and you offer great leadership advice. Just me knowing you've shown me direction without necessarily saying, hey, Rich, like, this is what I do, boom, boom, boom. It's more of a conversation that we have, and I get to pick off and, plant in my own garden what you passed down. And I'm just curious where you got that from.
Yeah. Yeah, good question. I reflect on that quite a bit, actually. I do a lot of personal development, a lot of reading, and I've brought that culture into my workplace as well. We do regular book clubs, self-improvement books, business improvement books, business strategy. I feel like it's really important to keep people motivated and keep them growing. One of my greatest business successes really isn't monetary. It's, I have had the same team and just a growing team since I started this business with no attrition whatsoever. So no turnover in my business.
Wow.
And in our industry, that's pretty unheard of. It's pretty unheard of. A lot of people are known for coming into a business like mine, where I have started it from the ground, learning the things that they want to take and go and start their own business. Right? It's very, very common in real estate investing to have team members that will do that, and we've been able to just craft a dynamic and a feel and a culture at work where everyone feels like they are part of something bigger, something that's growing, and they can grow with the company. I'm also very transparent with my team. I'm transparent in the cost, in what it takes to operate a business like this, the risk involved, the legal risk, the stresses that I go through. Now, like you said, set the tone and be that leader that they need to be. And you can do that by showing it by example, maintaining cool under pressure, and coaching them through those similar situations, right? But I would say, the most important thing to being a good leader for your people is just showing them love and getting to know them. We have a really tight culture and deep personal relationships on my team. And when push comes to shove, I think it's hard for my team members to envision themselves working anywhere else because we're like a family, and it's been one of the most rewarding things I've done in business.
I'm super proud of you. I'm super proud to be alongside of you and just get to know you and continue this relationship and everything. I'm wondering who stood out for you in your life that you said, you know what, that person's got it. That person's got something that I want to learn from. I want to grow under. Who was that for you? And if it was multiple people, who were they? What did they do for you?
Yeah, the person that stands out most when I hear you ask that is my grandfather. My grandfather was a real estate broker. He had 3 offices on the peninsula in the San Francisco Bay Area. From a young age, I was helping him with his tenant relations, turning apartments as they became vacant, and just watching what a cohesive team looked like with him and his team. So at 13, I was riding my bike and delivering notices to tenants. Okay. Oh, wow. At 16, I was painting apartments and managing vendors to turn, an apartment unit.
Yeah. And 16-year-old Mitch, hey, this is Mitch over here. Yes, I'm 16 and I need you to do this.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Nice.
So I was given responsibility at a young age, and I was able to see from somebody who was really experienced in business and specifically in real estate on how to treat people, right? It's a relationship business. Another thing I'll say is I mentioned earlier in our conversation about my work history, and I managed multifamily units for some of the biggest apartment managers in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Equity Residential, the Irvine Company, Riverstone Residential, all fee managed there. And along the way, I had some of the greatest leaders to learn from, as well as some of the worst leaders to learn from. So I was able to pick up so many just little nuances and just general philosophy on how to do things, how to treat people, how to build a team, and then also how not to do that. And it might even be some of the worst leaders that taught me the most. If you're taking notes and not just getting frustrated on poor leadership, it can really add value to a business when you're starting it yourself.
Yeah, I definitely can relate that with my military experience when I was E5 at 22.
Oh, yeah.
I had some great sergeants ahead of me, squad leaders and platoon sergeants, and even company commanders that were on the brass side of things.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, well, this guy gets it. This guy definitely doesn't. And if I go down that road, I'm going to be thought of it appears that way. And when you're going into battle, the last thing you want is to have anybody undermine or not believe that you can do something. And we look at our business, there is so much turnover in real estate. Like you said, the attrition on your team is just monumental. And just knowing that you've started this and kept everybody and just continue to grow. Yeah. Where I've been in this industry, 5 years now or so, full time. And I've spun buyer's agents back and forth, boom, 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 right? Yeah. Some people come on and they say they want it. And it's like, well, do you, or do you want the lead?
That's right.
Right. Do you want to grow or do you want the lead?
That's
and
right.
So my role now has significantly changed, as we talked about last week and everything like that. And I still have 2 other businesses with my business partner, right? And we're going down this avenue. Now I get to build something from the foundation up.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If I choose to do so, right? I can still be in business by myself.
That's right.
And if I want to grow a team, like we'll be talking more, of course.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And really it comes down to, commented before, it's about trust. It's about trust. Like business in general, you can only move the needle in your business by creating better relationships and all relationships are built on trust, right? And it's also safe to say that if you don't have trust, you don't have a relationship, right? So you could go so far as to say the foundation of your leadership, and especially while growing a business, it's all about trust and making sure that you're doing what you say you're going to do, and even more than that, right? The more you can wake up every morning and see how well you can impress the people around you for the right reasons, the better you'll do in business.
Not the flashiness.
That's right.
It's the truth. It's the truth that really shows up.
That's right.
And when you're challenging, young people in this industry and showing them, hey, here's your used to be W-2 life. Yeah. This is what it used to be. Let me show you what true leadership looks like. Yeah. Have you had an experience where somebody on your team came to you and said, hey, Mitch, I think we could do it better this way, where it really exemplified your business?
Yeah. I love those opportunities. Being able to foster a culture like that, to where people are coming to you with ideas and saying, hey, I know we've been doing this way forever. I have an idea. I think this, I think it could work another way. I absolutely salivate over moments like that, because it does a couple of things. It validates that you're approachable and you're vulnerable, and you're creating that type of dynamic where this is a team effort. This is not a dictatorship, right? When people are able to come with ideas, I love that. And under those circumstances, in those opportunities, I'd love to, as much as possible and in every case possible, say, you know what? That's awesome. Let's do it that way this time. And let's see how it works. Okay. I know the risks, and it's sometimes it's great, especially in low risk situations, to go ahead and let that unfold, because new operational nuggets come out of every time you try something new or try something different. It might not be the right move, and it could be the right move. And you being a vulnerable leader and able to say, you know what? You're right. Thank you for bringing that up. We're going to give this a go. We gave it a go, and look what happened. I really like a lot about what happened there.
Right. They feel respected, heard, trusted, and even more importantly, valued.
Absolutely.
That they can bring up just a thought. Hey, Mitch, I know you've got decades of experience in real estate.
Yeah.
I know you have decades of experience here. Here's what I think might come to fruition if we tried it this way. And having a true open door policy, and valuing your team enough to understand that you maybe have everything you need today, but that might not be all of everything tomorrow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's a great thing about having that type of dynamic within the office, right? And it's not easy to achieve. Most people are used to a dictatorial style leader, right? That's what they're used to. Okay, you probably, with your military experience also, and like, there is one way to do things, and that's how you're going to do it. You're going to do it exactly how I said, and that's it. Like, that's the end of the road, right?
It's black and white.
It's black and white.
It.
It's black and white, yeah. But as we know, in real estate, it's one of the most creative industries available, especially as an entrepreneur, especially in off-market real estate where I dwell most. There are 1,000 ways to skin a cat, right?
Right.
This is not black and white, and managing risk appropriately, and then taking opportunities to coach and mentor along the way. It's all part of growing a fantastic team. So, yeah, it all comes together. We talk about leadership a lot, and we talk about this style and a dynamic that just creates business growth. It's easy to talk about, harder to do. It's harder to do because as business owners, whose back is up against the wall every single day?
That 4-letter word of risk really comes up, and you have to weigh, okay, if we go this way, what are the implications that could possibly come of this in a negative aspect? And what are the positive implications this could bring? And do the pros outweigh the cons?
Yeah.
And then we have to, as business owners, really reflect on that opportunity. Hey, I heard what you said. Just so you know, this other side, the reason why we do this is right here. What do you think now? Yeah. Okay, I got it. Right. Appreciate the value, appreciate the opportunity. If there's another way, well, let's see if there is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. And you said it without saying it, but giving your team the why behind everything we do in business is absolutely critical. A lot of leaders, they won't take the time to provide that to their team. Listen, we'll do it this way because it's what I said to do. And that's the end of it for a lot of business owners.
Yeah.
Do it this way because it's what I said to do. How does that feel? How does that feel to you right now, me just saying that?
Yeah, no, for me, personally, like being the driver that I am, I'm going to figure this out. I promise there's a way.
That's right. That's right.
And people that value their own opinion, everybody values their own opinion.
Yeah.
Right? That's why they're in this industry or why they're in business per se. It's like, hey, I feel this kind of way. I know there's some truth here. Yeah. And if you just stop, hey, do as I said, not as I do, or do as I said because I said so. Yeah. Right? Like we all have ego. We all have pride to a degree, but we also have what's called self-respect. And if you're just told do this way, that gives no opportunity for the creative mind to come out and really exemplify itself and show up. Right? Yeah. No, I'm curious. You're in the creative market world. What other things are you really creative about? Outside of business.
Outside of business?
Outside of business.
Growing a business has taken almost all of my all of my free time. But I enjoy not being quite as structured at home as well. Okay, we keep a loose calendar at home. We have free time, or we'll be spontaneous with what we decide to do. A couple of months ago, we were headed up to the Lake Tahoe area for a snow day. Okay, we got a blowout on the freeway. Okay, while on the way, and it wasn't easy because it was going to take time to get a new tire put on, the right type of tire, and I know that most families under those circumstances would have had their car towed to the tire shop and parked there until the following day where it could get a new tire put on. And snow day is over. But me being me, I got towed to a used tire shop a few miles away, and we didn't make it to Tahoe that day. But we made it to Forest Hill. Okay? And snow day was not going to be taken from my family. It was not going to be taken, right? It's just like a tenaciousness that's built in. Yeah. Where and it's kind of the same in the office as well. My favorite saying is by the great philosopher Yoda. Okay? And Yoda says to Luke while in the swamp, do or do not. There is no try. Okay? So we don't try to do things in my office. We don't try to do things as Craigheads in my family. Right. Okay? We do or we do not. Okay? And that's something that's been really fruitful as I've grown young adults and lead a family.
Right. That's incredible. I do appreciate the philosopher Yoda. Right. And then the one thing I continue to do is remember, there is no try. You either do or don't. You either
That's right.
make an excuse for whatever you're dealing with in life, in business, in fitness, in health, in your spirituality. You're either making an excuse or you're doing something, right? And excuses will fill your bucket faster than you can allow them to.
Yep.
If just given the opportunity. They'll just start stacking up. Oh, I didn't wake up on time, so I can't go on a run this morning. I didn't wake up in time, so I have to jump right into work. Oh, I was delayed on this, so I did this instead, right? And then we lose sight of the big picture because we gave ourselves 3 excuses before 9 o'clock.
The next thing you know, you're just that type of person, right? It could be said that you're either someone who makes excuses or someone who never makes excuses.
Right.
Right.
And it's important to hear that. Like, there's a big, deep message in there, and I think a lot of people can really learn that.
Yeah.
Learn from this. Just this part of this conversation is, how many excuses are you going to allow yourself to have?
Yeah.
How many?
That's right.
Because up until this point, I know a lot of people have made excuses for their life.
Yeah.
And there's no qualms about that. But you get to choose. Are you going to be a person who makes excuses, or are you going to go do things? Do you want to be fit? Do you want to get back to church? Do you want to start a podcast? Do you want to start a business? Do you want to have a healthy relationship? Whatever it is, do you want those things? And if you say you want them, then there's no more excuses. You have to eliminate that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Just like when the alarm kicks off in the morning to say, hey, Rich, hey, Mitch, get out of bed. Do you get out of bed or do you hit the snooze button? And
That's
you
right.
make that choice.
That's right.
Oh, I'm a little tired, so I'm going to excuse myself of the benefit of waking up 15 minutes earlier than what I said I was going to do because it's a little cozy.
That's right.
I'm a little tired.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Running to the hard, running to the difficult things is a philosophy that's been one of the things in my life that's made a huge difference. Right. There was a point in my life where I was an excuse maker, where things were happening to me. Okay. And
Can you give me an example?
I'll give you an example. When I was in college, okay, I was one of those people that would sleep in late, just barely make my classes. Okay. I would cram for exams and make all types of excuses to why I couldn't do so, why I couldn't be at the top of my game. And I look back at that chapter in my life, and it's just such a different person from who I am today that it brings me great pride, but it also motivates me to ensure that the young people that I am grooming, okay, my children and the people in my community, are without that. Starting this philosophy of doing and not making excuses, giving them that leg up on the rest of the world when there are plenty of people around them making the excuses. I want them to be able to recognize that and not fall into it, and be able to identify it and push themselves forward, so that they can have an even better life than I have.
Right. And how beautiful is that? You've said a couple times now, you said grooming, right? You said raising adults. I think a lot of parents right now miss that notion. I'm not blessed with children yet, and I look forward to that day. I absolutely do. And yes, they're kids. And you said it. You're raising young adults. They're going to be our future leaders.
That's right.
They're going to run our economy. They're going to take care of us later on. And we got to remember that. Like, yes, enjoy those precious moments and everything. And like I said, I'm speaking with no dog in the fight right now. And I'm prepping myself for later on, making sure that I have that relationship, that trust built with them, just like running a team.
Yeah.
And they are kids, and you can teach them how to be better than you.
Yeah.
Give them that opportunity.
Yeah. And even that, bringing that into the business world. My first hire as a business was a 19-year-old. Okay.
Interesting.
Okay. Technically an adult, but a young man still. Okay. And this employee is still with me. He came onto my team as an intern, an unpaid intern, for 90 days. Okay. And helped me with a lot of different things. He earned his way onto the team. And I have been able to see him grow. He's now 22 years old, and he's developed into a responsible man with slightly different ethics and work ethic than when I started with him. Okay, and I could say that I'm very proud of my contribution to his life. He's one of my closest friends and someone that I'm just absolutely incredibly proud of, and also jealous. If I knew as much about real estate as my team member Noah Elliott at his age, I would be a force to be reckoned with in life, and I'm really excited for him for that reason. But to be able to give back and mold and just pour into others and watch them grow and flourish, it's just one of the most rewarding things in my life. So I say that about my kids. I say that about my team members. It's just, it's a paradigm shift. It's a mindset shift in general to how much can I give? How much can I give others? Because when I started, when I turned the corner into that mindset, my life got so much better, like 10x better.
Really?
Absolutely.
So you're saying giving people everything for free, doing everything you can to help them, rather than hold it close to you and just tell them yes or no, has made more of a contribution in your world than keeping that information?
Absolutely.
Interesting concept, because we hear that. We don't often see everybody that knows that do that. I know people in my office that run incredible businesses, and the agents on their team, I just look over, I'm like, I could never. I would choose to never do that, right? I would have no excuse in my life that would say, hey, Rich, you're going over there, right?
Yeah.
Because I believe that, the grass grows where you water it. And if you want to teach people, if you want to make the world a better place, not just be the light, but offer the light.
Yeah.
Right? How many candles can you light along your path to help other people light their own paths in the world? Like, I think that's huge as a leader.
I love that, Rich. Well put.
Yeah. Well, I mean, since we've known each other, dude, you've contributed to my life in an amazing fashion. Like, people won't know it off this conversation, right? But even from our conversation about faith, right? We know that I was recently baptized a little bit over a week ago, gave my life back to Christ, right? In our conversation, just brief, talking about your religion, your faith, and what you do for your family. We talked about having a golf round on a Sunday. You're like, hey, man, it's Sunday's church day. That's my family day, right? So
right.
What does faith really mean for you and the Craighead family?
Yeah. Jesus' teachings are just such an incredible foundation for anything in your personal life and into business. It's just a perfect framework to live your life by. It's just undeniably perfect. I have a lot of friends who are not faithful. Okay. And that's completely okay. Okay. I live my life in a way that is as godlike as possible. I know that I sin, and being forgiven for that, you can take great solace in living your life as close to godlike as possible. I haven't always done that. I know you can relate. Turning that corner is liberating, provides incredible clarity, and allows you to just turn this corner into being a great husband, a great father, a great leader for your team, and a great friend to others. And if I died being just those people to the people around me, I'm a happy man. Like pull the plug on me now. If that's the feeling that other people have about me, I've done a good job in life. So, again, it comes back to how much can you give? How much can you give? And that's what Jesus preaches as well. So, give. We pour into buckets day after day with friends, with spouses, with kids, team members, into the business. How do you fill your bucket? The bucket gets filled just as a result of that. And that's probably the biggest mindset shift that I've experienced. It was when I when I changed my mindset to just find ways that I can give, the more I started giving, the more I started giving to my church, the more I started giving to other people in our industry, my time and my effort, the more I started giving to my family. My life was just more and more enriched. Okay, so stripping away the selfishness that this world just, with the media, the news, just everywhere you turn, it's just this world feels like it's filled with greed. And when you're able to strip that away and focus on giving, something crazy happens. And something crazy happened to me. And the more I started helping other investors get off the ground and start wholesaling or flipping houses, the more I, give to my church, the more great things just started. I started being this attractant to better people and more wealth. And it's amazing how that happens. It's hard to explain, but that's exactly what's happened in my world.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. This is an off the wall question, man. Can you talk to me about the lowest point you found yourself in this world and what you did to pull yourself out of it?
Wow. That's a really good question.
You don't have to answer it if you don't want to.
I am completely happy being completely vulnerable. I think it's important. I think it's important between friends, and I think it's important to share with with your followers and your viewers. I was fired from a high level management job, and it taught me a lot about who I was. Okay, because some of the feedback I had received from my team at that point in my life was that I wasn't necessarily a team player. That I wasn't as supportive a leader as my team needed. Okay. I wasn't as effective as I possibly could be. I was not taking the right actions to keep pushing the business forward and honoring my commitments to the company. And that was the beginning of this metamorphosis personally for me, which resulted in a fantastic story of business success, becoming an entrepreneur that I always wanted to be. It didn't tell me that, hey, maybe you just shouldn't work a corporate job. Okay, if you can't be successful in your corporate job and lead the people the way they need to be led, you're not going to do well on your own. Okay, so I made it my goal to study and study leadership and keep an eye on myself, watch myself like a hawk, and do the right thing and become successful in my corporate jobs before I rewarded myself with the extreme risk of starting my own business. So I have a lot of, I took a lot away from that experience. I don't know if, your viewers, if anyone's been fired from a job, but it was by far, especially starting my family, lowest point in my life. But it was a gift to me. Again, at that point, I looked at it as this event was happening to me, and I had somehow been wronged. And looking back, I know that event happened for me. It happened for me, not to me. And it allowed me the reflection, the self-reflection, to begin the process of becoming the man I needed to be able to lead a family and lead a business.
That's an incredible way to look at it. You didn't look at it right away like that?
No, I didn't. I wasn't in that space yet. I wasn't. I was still the person that was not the right leader for my team and not fulfilling my duties to the company that I was hired to fulfill. So it took me a lot of self-reflection, especially in the process of trying to find another job that was in my same industry and the struggles that come along with that, right? While growing a very young family at the time. Very, very stressful. And that was the time. It was shortly after that I was able to do the self-reflection. And it was, I think, likely 4 or 5 years later that I realized that happened for me and not to me.
You know, I had several conversations about these 4 or 5 year windows, right? And my life seems to go down a similar path, 4 to 5, maybe to 8, depending on the scenario or whatever. And then something clicks and it's like, wait, that's what that was.
Yeah.
That's why that was there.
Yeah.
You know, I knew when I came over to real estate, I had gotten my license as a 3rd-year apprentice as an electrician, and I got my journeyman's license and was working in the Bay. I was waiting to make the jump, and God was giving me all these signs, all of them,
Yeah.
a plethora and continuous reminders. And I was like, okay, one day, and then the car accident happened. And luckily, I was able to walk away without a scratch. I got hit by a BMW on 21st and Broadway. Stopped at a red light, reached down, turned the knob on the radio or take a sip of my energy drink or something, look up, and I see the left turn yield on green sign with a big green dot. I was like, oh, gotta go. Somebody honks behind me, and I thought I'd been sitting at the light a little bit. So I hit the gas a little bit faster. And this BMW came on my driver's side, missed my driver door by about 1.5 feet. I spun out in the intersection. Walked away without a scratch. Right.
Wow.
Then I found out my insurance had lapsed. There's a medical bill, totaled car, had to pay $35,000 out of pocket.
Ugh.
Right. And I was like, that was my last sign. I'm leaving the electrical industry. I'm going to go chase this dream. Right. And now I'm being back into my faith and really diving into it. I'm noticing different signs. Okay, hey, maybe this relationship is for me. Let me move this way. Maybe this relationship isn't for me. Let me move this way. I'm going to give it up to you, God, and find out. And at first that had happened to me. And instantly I was like, well, I got to go. Life is way too short to sit in this and bask in this terrible feeling. Like, how am I going to get out of this mess?
Yeah.
And it's only by taking action. We can sit and sulk and feel sorry for ourselves. And there's a time and a place to be like, man, what did I get into this time? There's a time. And then if you take a step back, just be objective, pull yourself out of your emotional response, because we're humans. We're going to have emotional responses.
Yep.
We're going to argue with our kids. We're going to argue with our spouse. We're going to argue with our team members. We're going to argue with ourselves over what's right. And if we take a step back and be like, wait, what am I arguing against something or for it? Right? Am I going to argue for the excuse? Am I going to argue that, hey, I was wronged for being fired, even though I wasn't filling my commitments as an employee?
That's right.
And a leader. Oh, they wronged me. Well, maybe it was a sign, hey, there's something better for you at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And, we all go through highs and lows, ebbs and flows. And, we can choose which way we want to reflect on that moment. So thank you for sharing that story. I imagine that the struggles at home and trying to figure out where the next check is coming through and how we're going to pay mortgage and cars and put food in the bellies of our kids, right?
That's right.
All those things, and they can encapsulate you and get you stuck in fear.
That's right.
And just congratulations on finding the message behind that and growing. I think a lot of people can reflect on a similar situation. It doesn't have to be some super high paying corporate job. It could be a job.
Yeah.
And noticing what's going on in your world. So appreciate you sharing that, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
it felt good.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you come up with the goals for your company and your team members? And what do you see going forward in the next year, 3 years, 5 years? I know we're in a very, very interesting market. And I know as an investor, it can be quite scary.
Yeah. The the real estate market is fragile, especially today. We know, there are new changes in commission structures for agents, and there's interest rates. There's interest rates where nobody knows what's going to happen next, right? Everybody's got an opinion, but does anyone know? No, right?
Not a clue.
And in my side of things, more of the fix and flip and the investor side, the off market side, it's just as challenging and in different ways. So keeping things, when you talk about goals, I love it now that I just finishing up my 3rd year in business, and I have this, we've created a trajectory, which is really, really great, right? My business went from, me doing my first off-market real estate deal in July of 2021 to a point where we're doing 5 to 10 of those deals per month as a team. So it can be tough to pinpoint where we should be at the end of a quarter or a year. And we set lofty goals. And it's really the only way to do things, in my opinion. You set a lofty goal because if you don't set a goal, you'll never attain it, right? And so far this year, we're off to a fantastic start. We set some very lofty goals. It's actually the goal is actually doubling our company's revenue from prior year, which is
in this market.
That
is awesome.
Yeah. So, and
most people might look at you a little baffled that would be the trajectory.
Yeah.
Right?
And, explaining that to my team when starting the year.
Yeah.
It was equal parts excitement and equal parts blank stares of you're crazy, dude. Right?
What are you thinking right now?
But you know what? Let's get crazy. In the investor world, there are 2 types of investors. There are ones that make excuses for what's happening and are scared because interest rates are too high right now. And there are those who press forward and realize that interest rates may be, abnormally high right now, but as soon as interest rates come down, the competition for any available property is going to be through the roof again, right? It's a lot. The same thing can go for a conventional home buyer, right, Rich?
Yep.
The people are sitting on the sidelines waiting for interest rates to come down. What's going to happen when interest rates come down in the conventional market? There's going to be an absolute feeding frenzy on all available properties on the market, and there's already very low inventory, right?
Right.
How is that going to benefit them by waiting now to not be able to secure a property to purchase so that they can maybe refinance later, right? People are literally shooting themselves in the foot by this waiting game, the inactivity. It's like almost analysis paralysis, right?
Yep.
I'm thinking about this so long and hard, and I'm so scared of all the things that could be negative about this. I choose to do nothing. And that's, both in business and personally, you have to get over those types of fears. You have to run towards the difficult in this world. Okay. Otherwise you're going to blink your eye and you'll be sitting in the same place you were 10 years from now, wondering what happened while other people are taking those actions and improving their lives. So that's the reason for the lofty goals. And as of, we are we're in May of 2024 as we're filming this. We are on pace to achieve those goals that we set, those very, very lofty goals for this year.
The ones where they're just wide-eyed and wondering what's going on, and you say, "Let's get crazy. Let's go after it."
That's right.
Let's get
incredible.
Crazy. That's incredible testament about your leadership. Let's go. Yes. We love saying that word here. We love saying those words here.
I love it. Let's go is just so representative. It's kind of an overused saying over the past few years, but it's very inclusive as a team. Let's do this together. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I just love it.
Yeah, we've been talking about the conventional buyers or sellers or things like that. I totally understand where sellers are right now. The only people selling homes is because they need to.
That's right.
Right? They have an absolute purpose, whether it's job relocation, family structures changing, in whatever degree that looks like.
Yeah.
Those are the only people really selling.
Yeah.
And the buyers that are in, when I talk to them, right, they're like, man, we're going to wait for interest rates to come down. Right? We have those conversations, and you know what? You can always lead a horse to water, right? Here's my thought process behind that. If you can afford it now at this interest rate, and you're not paying over list price, in fact, over 70%, 70% of buyers right now are getting concessions on properties.
Yeah.
Right? We're back to a more stable market where it isn't just seller dictated, right? And this is a time where a buyer can really, really take advantage and grab into this equity game. And when interest rates come back down, all they do is a refinance, and they're not in competition. They're just getting the best deal.
That's right.
That's it. They're not out shopping. Dude, during COVID, man, you're showing buyers 10, 15, 20 properties, 50 properties sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. And they can't get an offer accepted.
Yeah.
Right? And so they sit on the back burner, and as soon as interest rates jumped from that 2.5 to 3.5 and 4 almost overnight, I called every FHA buyer, every VA buyer I had, and I said, let's go, right?
Yeah.
Here's what's happening. Watch. You don't want to be the last sheep over because you might get eaten by that wolf. Why don't you be the first one, capitalize on this because you're still going to gain equity and watch what happens to these interest rates. The amount of people I locked in were able to get locked in before it hit the 5s.
Yeah.
One story that stands out, one of my clients, Kathleen, she was a grandma. She was a school bus driver from one of the school districts here. And her daughter lived with her and her grandbabies lived with her, right? And she needed a 4-bedroom house in this neighborhood, right? Under this price point. She was one of my first calls. As soon as they hit above 3, I said, hey, Kathleen, are you ready? And she's like, Rich, I've been waiting. Okay, here's exactly what just happened, right? Interest rates went to here. I know where you can afford. I know where you want to buy. There's this one property with the 4 bedrooms you need right in your location, right? And it's one of the heartwarming stories because this is a grandma, school bus driver, never owned a property. And right, those things like really stand out. And I know she's safe. She could afford that payment.
Yeah.
She gets exactly where she wanted to be. It works well for her work, works well for her grandbabies that live with her, right? And
fantastic.
Now we're at the 7%, right?
Where would she be today?
Renting.
She would be renting.
She couldn't buy that house right now.
That's right.
She couldn't buy that house. And so let's say this. Let's say interest rates rise more. What's going to happen? The buyer demand is just going to continue to drop. And right now, like I said, buyers are getting concessions.
Yeah.
Right. So when people are even flipping properties, they gotta check their margins on like, hey, we might be listing at this price, but you might need to spend $8,000 to help this buyer buy down that interest rate. So you're cutting into your margins, right? Just know the market.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We can go down a rabbit hole just talking real estate all day.
Absolutely. And there were some other great loan programs available also, these buy downs.
The 2-1 buy down, 3-2-1 buy down. I haven't used that one yet. I think that because it's pretty monumental for the seller to offer that. But a 2-1 buy down is very common.
Absolutely.
Very common.
Absolutely. And increasing in popularity and should be utilized more, especially with, with the speculation of the rates coming down over the next couple of years. That's a great opportunity for people.
They said it would drop 3 times this year. That's a joke.
I also heard 6 to begin the year at the beginning, right? 6. Then it was like 3, and it's like maybe we'll see you next year, right?
Yep. Yeah. I wouldn't even count on it. What we can count on is if the price is affordable now, and you have less people in your competition, dude, go grab a deal. Find a house you can afford that's in the price in your price point, in your budget, in the neighborhood that works for you, right? And just wait, just sit on the equity. If you can afford it now, even if housing prices do drop, let's say they did, right? But you can afford it, you're not losing because you're still not paying 100% interest.
That's right.
And when I talk about how long have you been renting a house? Okay, you spend $2,500 a month. You've been there 5 years. How much money is that? You're just throwing away $25,000 a year. That's only on a 10-month year. $25,000 a year you're spending, and you've been there 5. Let's do the math. And we're leaving out a whole year.
Oh, I know.
You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
But, yeah, man. I'm really excited to see what you do with.
Yeah, and the off-market side too. One of the things we're able to do is get really creative with both sellers and with buyers, and I really enjoy that because there are a lot of great loans out there, and when sellers need to sell, and say you have a $400,000 property, you own it, you're living in it, and unfortunately you owe $380,000 on your loan, okay, but you need to move, you need to relocate, you're getting transferred, you're in the military, you got your orders, you've got to go.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work out. You can't rent it for what your mortgage payment is. And if you were to list it, you would be in a position where you would, if it's sold in the amount of time that you need it to sell, there's a high probability after closing costs, commissions, you would likely need to write a check to sell your house, right? But say you have that, you're in the military, you have a VA loan, and say that you got that loan 3 years ago, and it's a 2.5 interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
What we're able to do on our side is actually work out a purchase of that property with the seller and take over their property and buy their property subject to the existing loan.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, we could actually take that and sell it to a retail buyer, get it in the hands of a retail buyer and transition that. So assign it to another buyer, creating this win-win for not only the end buyer and the seller, because even in situations like that, for the seller, we would typically be writing them a check for $5,000 to $10,000 because we're buying the house, but even more importantly, we would be buying the loan. Okay.
Right.
And we can find a great third-party retail buyer that could then come and take over the payments on a 2.5% mortgage. Okay.
Right.
One of the awesome things when I talk about the creativity and the off-market side, that's one example of ways we're able to help not just the retail buyers, investors, but more importantly, the homeowners who need to sell sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. It is all about, like, this is one thing you're pretty great at this too. I've heard you on the phones talking to keeping the emotions between the lines, right? Because it is not about us, right? It is about the seller at the end of the day, the seller or the buyer at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I get agents, I'm sure you have this too, where they come at you pretty fiery.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do in those scenarios?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talk about real estate being a people business and a relationship business, and it absolutely is. On the investor side, one of the things I really love is that it really is about the numbers and making things work, creating a deal. So there's price and there's terms. There's two sides to every deal, right? And you can adjust both of those to create an optimal, some type of win-win, okay? Where the seller wins, the buyer wins, right? And getting involved in people's lives and finding out the why and all the things that they really need to get done and addressing those things. Sometimes, in real estate transactions, people don't always get what they want, but they get what they need done, right? Especially in unique times like we are today.
Yeah.
So being able to peel that apart is something that me and my team are really cognizant of and really focus on as we do any real estate deal. So it's a people business. When push comes to shove, it's about how you can put the numbers together to make it work. And the more creative you can be, the better you're going to do in this business, okay? My company's mission statement is improving lives through creative real estate solutions. And it's really powerful when you live, eat, and breathe creative real estate. It helps a lot of people in markets like now.
Yeah, absolutely. I see the benefit 100%, right? We talk all the time. I see exactly what you're doing, how you operate and everything like that. I just got to say, man, I do appreciate our friendship. I love learning from you. I'm going to continue to learn from you and offer anything I can.
I appreciate you. It's very reciprocal, and I learn a lot from you each time I'm with you. And one of the best things that I love about you is your energy, your lust for life, and your energy. I feel very comfortable talking to you and being vulnerable with you about treating people in the right way, because you're such a great example of how to do that.
That I think the same of you very highly. And one thing that I found in my life is when I put my pride and my ego up front, that was a false narrative I was giving away. I was using that to guard myself and protect myself, which actually ended up hurting myself even more for a longer period of time because I wasn't vulnerable with myself. I wasn't allowing myself to be honest and truthful in my addiction, in my life, where it was like, I talk about that and people are like, no way, dude. Like, I had no idea because I put on this massive front that said, hey, no, everything's perfect. And I'm always going to smile because I believe, every day is a cherishable day, right? I wake up happy, although I wasn't happy with myself first, right? What I found is that when I chose to live a happy life and I chose to find the right people to sit at the right table and next to people that think and feel and move the same way I do, or maybe they don't. Maybe they're somewhere where I aspire to be. I found a passion and a purpose for life, right? Where before it was my pride and ego. So that led with aggression and tonality, like, oh, I'm just going to do this, right? Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And, honestly,
we know it well. We see it everywhere now, especially,
Dude, we see it all over social media. We see it in the news. We see it in our politicians. We see it in Hollywood. We see all these things. It's like, hold on. What's actually true? And what I found is like my relationships got better when I got better relationship with myself. Yeah. And it's only exemplified even more with my love of God coming back. And it's like easy to give. Yeah. I've never been a big taker, right? Except for myself. I was taking from myself. Yeah. And I think a lot of people need to understand, like, how are you treating yourself at the end of the day? Sure. And at the beginning of the day and during the day. What messages are you telling yourself? Because you're telling yourself that message, you're actually putting that out there. You're putting that energy out there. You're putting that in the ether, and people can see through that, and they'll neglect you, right? Yeah, they will. So I really appreciate your time, man. I want to know, I know you're an avid reader. I know you guys do your book club. I know in your investor groups, you guys do book clubs and everything like that. And actually, we have a mastermind coming up this Thursday that I'm super pumped about. Me too. We're learning from more, right? Yeah. Stand on the shoulders of giants, man. What was one book you can relate to right now? What is one book that stood out for you in your growth that you would recommend to anybody on the planet right now? Yeah. Gosh, so many to choose from. If I had to choose one, if I could give it to somebody who needed a kind of a fresh start or a new outlook on life, some of the things that we've discussed today, I would say Ed Milet's The Power of One More. Mm-hmm. Okay, I have about I think I have 5 or 6 copies of that in my office, and I have a surplus of those for this reason, because I love gifting literature and allowing people to receive some beautiful philosophy and let it carry on into their life. And so I gift that book probably more than any other. I'm pretty sure you've read that book. About 5 times. Listen to it another couple. Awesome. I think it's chapter 16 when he talks about leadership. Yeah. Right, and gets into that. That's right. And so I've listened to that chapter specifically several times, but I've read that book about 5 times personally. Yeah. If any of your viewers are looking for a fantastic read, and our conversation, this has just felt really good, Rich. Mm-hmm. Not only are we mustache brethren right now, yes, which also feels really good, but our a lot of our morals and our faith basis are very in line, and I really appreciate that. Ed Milet as a coach and a mentor, unofficial mentor, he's turned some corners for me as well. So I would highly recommend that book. Yeah, absolutely. I love that book. You're not the first person to recommend that on this podcast. Is that right? It's a powerful one, man. It is the power of one more. And when you get to know his story and what, his father and everything like that, and who he was and what he did, I think it's monumental. Like, we all come from dirt, like, originally, right? Yeah. And we all will be back there, right? Yeah. And there we hit our low points, and it's okay. It's okay. Absolutely. You just wake up one more day. That's right. One more day. Yeah. Take it one more level. Now, last question, man. Like I said, it's been an incredible honor. If you could give one piece of advice to anyone in the world, or what the world may need to hear right now, what would that be today? My advice to the world is this. We talked, another theme in our conversation today, and it's one that just resonates with me on a daily basis. It's made such a difference in my life. Like I said, the famous philosopher Yoda says,
He tells it. He gave Luke the tools to be able to go against the dark side. But you have to change your mindset first. And the key mindset piece for me, and I will tell the world this time and time again, my kids are sick of hearing it. They joke with me all the time. But do or do not. There is no try.
I love it.
So when you decide you want to do something, don't tell yourself that I'll probably do this or I'm going to try to do this. Okay? There's no more of that. There's no more of that. Do or do not.
I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. Let's go.
Let's go.
Awesome, brother. Love you so much. Looking forward to the next one.
Thank you. Yep. Awesome time.